And so he tells them to separate yourselves. He tells them, sanctify yourselves. He says, I'm not going to do it. You're going to have to do it. He says, sanctify yourselves. Now we have made this such a spooky term. We have made this such a bad term until people don't want to be sanctified because we don't clearly understand what it means to be sanctified. But sanctification is about not just being washed and clean, but it is being separated and ready for use. I don't know if I can make this clearer. When I was coming up in my home, we had chores. And one of my chores was to wash the dishes on my week that I was commanded. Now before dishwashers, I had a system. I'm pretty systematic, so if I'm going to do something, I have to operate by my system. But I learned what sanctification was by washing dishes. I would stack the plates, and then the saucers, and then the bowls. I would separate the silverware. I'd put the pots in their own particular place. The cups would be lined up so that when I washed by groups. I would take the plates and put them in the sink. I'd wash them, then I would put them in the separate sink to rinse them. Then I would do a third thing, and that is put them in the rack. Are you hearing me? I'd put them where you put clean dishes. Now, God, I would put them not back on the pile of dirty dishes. Because if I would take the clean plate and put it back on the pile with the dirty plate, I would nullify the process of cleansing. I wish I could talk to you. I would nullify it because if I put it back with the dirty, it becomes now what it was delivered from. Now, I am the one manipulating the process. If I don't sanctify the plate becomes contaminated again with the stuff that was on it. And so now it's not ready. So if somebody now wants to use a plate, they can't. And if they look and see the stuff that was already left on it, it does not matter how many times it was washed. If you don't clean it all the way good, and you don't separate it, let me put it this way, if you don't sanctify it, it ain't ready to be used. Okay, y'all. The problem with most of us is we like to brag and shout about being clean. But God can't use you until you sanctify yourselves. Oh. Go ahead, help me preach your word. Y'all miss a good place to shout. Until you separate yourself from things that contaminate you, be not conformed to this world, but be ye transformed by the renewing of your mind, that you may prove, watch this, what is that holy and acceptable and perfect will of God. I know why you're not shouting, because we can shout over what we want God to do for us, but the reality is sanctification is your responsibility. When God washes you up, you've got to stay away from the things that got you dirty. Oh, y'all ain't gonna like this today. And that's the problem with the church. We want to shout and we want to come to the altar and cry, but it makes no difference if you leave church after a good shout and a tongue speaking and a belly washing and gushing and all that other stuff. If you go right back to the same pile and do the same thing with the same people, you are not sanctified. Oh, Lord. And I hate to bring this on you, but I might as well. You got to sanctify yourself even from church folk. Because there's some people in church you need to... I'm not talking about being funny acting. I'm not talking about being nasty. I'm talking about understanding your level of consecration. Because when I understand where God is taking me, I realize that there's some people I cannot keep company with. There are some conversations I can't have any longer. You know when God is sanctifying, you can sense consecration. I'm only talking to people who are redeemed now. I'm only talking to people with the Holy Ghost. You can sense when God is pushing you into a place because you're trying to make small talk with people who you used to stay on the phone for hours with. You used to hang out all the time, and now all of a sudden now you're struggling to have a conversation. They're saying things like, are you listening? Are you on the phone? And your mind is somewhere else because when you are when he is sanctifying you, when there's a sanctification going on, oh God, I ain't trying to be funny, but there's just some things I can't talk about any longer. Oh God, and it ain't because I'm so deep and wonderful, it's because I'm trying to keep myself clean. The song said, that's why I gotta fast and pray. I hope y'all were listening to what you just sang, choir, and stay in the narrow way. I got to keep my life clean. I'm mighty afraid the problem with church is that we sing stuff. Yes, Lord. And because we know the words and we know the tune that we enjoy it, but I'm hoping that you got the message. That's why I got to fast and pray. Stay in the narrow. I got to keep my life clean. Oh God, because this treasure that I have that's in an earthen vessel cannot be activated until I sanctify myself. So the writer says, sanctify yourself, and the very God of peace will sanctify you wholly. W-H. Look at your neighbor and say, neighbor, I'm not trying to be funny, but I am trying to be sanctified.